Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The Manny Wilson podcast.
The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. I appreciate you tuning in to the first interactive sports podcast, a community that makes sure your voice is heard. So if you hear something you agree with, you disagree with, you like, you dislike, or even if you just want to outsmart me on something I said, go ahead, shoot me a quick call, 219-413-9405. And of course, we will play your take back on our next episode. And shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this episode. Get $20 off your first ticket purchase when you use the promo code The Run Podcast. This code can only be applied for first-time users on the mobile app or website. So I'm not sure about you, but, outside of sports, I like music. So there's some concerts going on. My guy Wale, he's about to go on tour. There's a lot of artists out there, so you better go ahead and scoop up one of your tickets and get the discount. Now, I know this is a sports show, so of course we got to talk about that. And I was amazed. Y'all know I usually try not to buy into any of the hype, right? Like whenever, stuff is going on in a sports world, I'm like trying to always be the last person to believe in any of the hype that's going on with any particular player, any particular team. I don't know why, but that's just my flow. That's how I've been. But I gotta say, I am getting convinced every single preseason game by Caleb Williams that this man is about to be 100% legit, bro. This dude is a baller, dog. Now we already knew he was nice at USC, seen the type of throws he made, and I get it's preseason, but damn it, I can't help but to buy into the hype because these throws he's making is insane. Like, back leg across the body on the run, like dumping it exactly where it needs to be. It's insane. His awareness, his patience in the pocket, his pocket presence, all of that stuff, his accuracy whenever he's throwing the ball downfield. He sees the field very well, sees all of his options when he's throwing the ball and surveying the defense. So I just can't help but to kind of get a little bit excited seeing what Caleb Williams is doing so far for the Bears because, a lot of guys aren't that successful at being the number one pick. It's tough. And with Caleb Williams, I think he's in a very unique situation. Above all, he'll either be a great quarterback this season, and just this season, he'll either be a great quarterback, lives up to all the hype, reaching all the standards that everyone put up there for him, showing everybody like, okay, this guy really might be the next Pat Mahomes or whatever you want to compare him to. He'll either live all the way up to every single hype that he has and be one of the greatest quarterbacks to come up next, or he's going to be a great talent and a turnover machine. Because, you got to keep in mind, a lot of guys at this age that he is of 23, 24, whatever it is, in that young age of first year going into the NFL, throwing the ball, a lot of guys have trouble, finding their guys through a defense. And then when people who've been in the NFL 4 or 5 years, been playing quarterback, and they still struggle with throwing on the run and getting it to the receiver accurately, it just tells me that what Caleb Williams is doing is going to be some sort of a risk. Like him getting out the pocket, making these back leg throws and these crossbody throws on the run, that's not easy. We still see Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, even Patrick Mahomes still throwing crazy amount of interceptions when attempting these type of passes. And those guys are all great talents, but they were also top 5 in interceptions last year. So yes, it can be done. And I know Caleb Williams can do it. Clearly he's shown he can do it, but it's just the fact that, is he going to be a turnover machine when these things happen? Because we haven't seen that in the preseason, but also keep in mind, you got stars on other teams' defenses who are not playing. You got guys who know how to read plays up and down, who know how to read the quarterback up and down. They're not playing right now. Defensive backs, top 5, top 10 in interceptions, they're not playing right now. The pass rush is not going to be as strong because guys aren't at full strength when you're going against these teams. So you got to keep that in mind, but again, I 1,000% expect Caleb Williams to give us more plays like the ones we've seen, these crossbody throws and just putting it right where it needs to be on the run. But above all, I would be even more impressed if he does this and continues to limit his amount of turnovers, because that's what's really going to be the secret sauce right there. A lot of guys can make these throws, and we pick and choose when we want to get hype. Unfortunately, I don't know why, media does that, but guys like Caleb Williams, Pat Mahomes, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, the thing that separates all of them from Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson is the fact that those guys, Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, can throw on a run and they limit their turnovers. They limit the amount of interceptions, the fumbles, and all of the silly things that they have. And that's a huge deal breaker right there. But ultimately, I think the Bears are going to be in good shape. I mean, judging from the preseason and looking at the pieces they picked up on the offseason, I think the defense is going to somewhat hold up their own. They brought back their linebackers, Tremont Edmonds and TJ Walker. Those guys are going to be a huge help. And above all, man, they got a new defensive coordinator. It's kind of some things up in the air. But the last thing I'm worried about, I mentioned the defense just because the last thing I'm worried about is the offense and what they can do. I'm sure we're going to see the Bears score the ball. That's going to be the main source of entertainment, is watching the Bears offense go to work with Caleb Williams and all the receiver options there. But the main thing is that defense going to really step up to the plate and make something happen, because you just never know. You never know. And we've seen over the course of the past few years, that's been the case, where the defense has struggled and the offense just so happened to struggle as well. So we'll see. But I guess you can say I'm buying into the hype. I guess you can say I've officially bought into the hype of Caleb Williams and what he can do, because this is insane. Watching these throws that he's making is insane, man. Not a lot of guys can do it, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot to actually be able to do it in the game, man? Like, it's crazy. So, look, man, we got some more stuff. Look, because I got a side note here. And I'm really thinking, for the first time in a long time, and maybe even ever, the Atlanta Falcons will have a solid defense. And I love this because, they finished in the bottom half of scoring on defense for the 6th year in a row now. But they also added some more pieces to help out the defense. Now, we all know Matthew Judon is the latest addition to the defense, 4-time All-Pro pass rusher. And then they also added Justin Simmons, who's an All-Pro safety. And these newer additions are going to make an immediate impact on this Atlanta Falcons defense, because not only did they already have pieces, but they're still doing work to bring in new guys who are going to have even more of an impact on that defense. And icing on the cake of it all is the fact that Raheem Morris, the head coach, is a defensive-minded coach. Let's not forget, he took the Los Angeles Rams to the Super Bowl. He helped them secure the win in the Super Bowl in 2021, in that 2021 season. So you got to keep in mind, this guy knows what he's doing. He's been around some great talented defensive players and some defensive-minded guys, and him being a defensive-minded guy is going to really help them out. So now that they've added all of these pieces on the defensive end, they've grown to be one of the best defensive teams in the NFC, and honestly, they are the best defensive unit in the secondary in the NFC. There's not a defensive back group that's better than the Atlanta Falcons right now in this conference. Because if you go down the line of who's back there going to be ball hawking the ball, you got Justin Simmons, All-Pro. You got Jesse Bates, another guy who should have been All-Pro, but Jesse Bates, he was an animal last year because he was second in solo tackles at his position, top 10 in tackles in the NFL last year, second in interceptions at his position, top 3 in the NFL last year. So we know what kind of heat that Jesse Bates is going to bring to the field. And then even if you look at the cornerbacks, AJ Terrell, Mike Hughes at the corner, those guys are locking down. It's going to be very interesting, and it's almost obvious at this point that there's nobody else in the NFC that has a secondary that's near the level of the Atlanta Falcons right now. And I know usually this is the last thing we talk about with the Falcons is, look at the defense they have. Look at the defense. But, I mean, you can't help but to notice. And, I mean, out of the 9 of the 18 games they lost last year, they lost by less than 5 points. That's more than half of the games that they played. They lost by less than 5 points. So I can't help but to think a little tweak in adding guys to every level on the defense, the defensive line, the linebacker unit and the secondary, of course they're going to bring home a couple of extra games. I would be silly not to think so. So, it's going to be cool to watch them. And with all these changes, I really have some high hopes for the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, I talked about last week them winning their division, and I still think that can be the case with the Atlanta Falcons winning that division. But we'll really see, when these guys get on the field and see how everything holds up. Because obviously, you got to worry about injuries, knock on wood. You want to make sure everybody's healthy and so on. But, September 8th, Pittsburg Steelers, Atlanta Falcons. We'll be seeing who really wins that game. We'll be seeing how the Atlanta Falcons look on both ends of the ball, but I'm predicting the Falcons to win, of course, because mainly Steelers still don't even know who their quarterback is. They're trying to figure it out. And, I'll touch a little bit more on that, as we move on through the show. We got some news, a little bit of recap, and then we'll touch on the Steelers figuring out who's going to be their starting quarterback between Russell Wilson and former Bears quarterback Justin Fields. We'll be right back. It's halftime. Don't go anywhere. All right, we got some news coming up in just a second, but before we get there, go ahead and use SeatGeek to purchase your next tickets. Get $20 off your ticket purchase when you use the promo code TheRunPodcast. However, this is only for first-time users on the mobile app or website. So, hey, if you're looking for some tickets, go ahead, create that account, and then purchase your tickets. Get $20 off. Now, anyway, man, look, let's jump into some news for the run because we got some stuff going on with the NFL. The Washington Commanders have officially named their starting quarterback for the season. Number 2 draft pick, Jaden Daniels, will make his debut against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on September 8th, Sunday. That's when we'll see a whole lot of football. Anyway, this is the last week before the NFL season officially begins. But until then, here's a quick recap of what happened this past weekend in the preseason games. So we've seen the Denver Broncos, the first-round draft pick, Bo Nix. He had himself a solid little game. He's been playing good so far this preseason, but he didn't play the whole game, obviously, in this last matchup. But while he was in, he threw for 80 yards, completing 8 of his 9 passes. And he also threw a touchdown pass. So, it looked solid. I liked what I seen from, Bo Nix as well. And, it's something to be a little bit exciting about, especially if you're a Broncos fan comparing to last season and what you witnessed. But anyway, Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams, he has some immaculate throws, as I mentioned. The stats didn't really do any justice to his performance, but wasn't bad. So I'm not even going to mention it. Anyway, he had a lot of great throws that you've seen, cross-body throws, back leg throws, throws on the run, dropping it in the money, pocket presence, escaping a sack, and then throwing for a touchdown. It was a lot of miraculous things that we witnessed from him. Had the media hype, had me hype, and officially got me to buy into some of the hype that's been going on with Caleb Williams. And then the Atlanta Falcons rookie quarterback Michael Penix Jr., he was shut down for the second game of the season in the preseason and will remain shut down for the rest of the preseason. And then when head coach Raheem Morris was asked about this, he said he's seen all he needed to see. The audio per Scott Kennedy.
Torrey, it was all about that, right? Last week we wanted to get him out there and get a feel for what he was in live game, which we kind of already knew. Wanted to see him be able to answer questions, talk about it on the sideline, go out there and execute, make mistakes and know what to do. Like when he looked the wrong way, getting right to the check down. He did a lot of those things a lot, but it took a hit last week, should have changed the protection. He's able to clearly communicate those things. I mean, we've seen enough last week of Michael Penix and the live stuff, and now we had the chance to mitigate him in practice. And we give him a bunch of live stuff out there in practice that you do everything that you would do in a game other than get hit. But we feel really good where we're at with Michael. We feel really good where we're at with the other guys that we set, and we treated that the same way. But Mike showed us last week enough that we don't have to play him in the preseason.
All right, and the Pittsburg Steelers, they've been a hot topic lately, man. So the Steelers, they're trying to find out who's going to be their starting quarterback between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Now, one of these guys got a Super Bowl ring. He's a Super Bowl champion, all of that. We know the story of Russell Wilson. We know what he's done in the NFL. And then Justin Fields, a younger guy, didn't really get much of a chance with the Chicago Bears, but now he has his chance with the Pittsburgh Steelers to become a starting quarterback. And I'm hearing a lot of nonsense regarding the matter of the Steelers in terms of their season being over and the season just being tossed in the trash and just stuff like that. It's nonsense. Because, I mean, I get, they don't have Tom Brady at quarterback, or they don't have Aaron Rodgers, or hell, they ain't even got Caleb Williams. But damn, we gonna really sit here and act like the Steelers quarterback options are terrible? We gonna act like they playing with a Daniel Jones or a Zach Wilson? That's just so disrespectful to these two because, we know Russell Wilson, he's not a quarterback that we've seen in Seattle. He's not that guy anymore, but he's still a damn good quarterback in the NFL because he threw for more touchdown passes than Matthew Stafford, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, while throwing less interceptions than two of those three names. So this guy still has some kick in his game. He was just poorly misguided all last season. He had to pivot in the middle of the season because they got a new head coach with the Broncos. And then how can you get a rhythm when your coach literally does not want you to play in order to receive a bonus and all of this other stuff that was going in it? The politics of his contract that the Broncos front office didn't want to go ahead and respect and allow Russ to get those numbers that he needed to get the contract incentives. Like, that's just wrong. He dealt with a lot of BS that was going on. I put it that way. So, I mean, Russ is damn a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. You can't sit here and just completely throw what he's done last season, not even what he's done 4 or 5 years ago, what he's done last season out the window, just because the hype isn't there. And then with Justin Fields, I don't know where the Justin Fields hate comes from, bro. Like, I think it mainly comes from Bears fans who was just disappointed in what he was doing, but ultimately, Justin Fields is not a bad quarterback. We're yet to see this guy thrive, and because he hasn't played with a line. He hasn't played with many receiving options. When he was in Chicago, they didn't dress up the Bears offense like they're doing with Caleb Williams. Hell no. Justin Fields was lucky if he had a second to think about an open target he wanted to throw the ball to. They gave him no time. His offensive coordinator was... I'm going to just be respectful and say his offensive coordinator was not very smart. His offensive coordinator was calling all kind of bad type of calls and stuff. They couldn't find a groove. He didn't have many options at receiver. Only guy he had was DJ Moore. And we seen them two connect on multiple levels whenever they could. The defense was nowhere near as good as they are now. They were injured. Their play call was bad as well. So this guy has been in a bad circumstance for the 3 years he's been in the league. And all of a sudden, people are going over top talking about he's a bad quarterback. He's a bad quarterback. So, it's wild. They have good options here. They're not stuck in the sand. They're not stuck. Only thing that will be tough is, like, obviously, winning the division and stuff, which is an ultimate goal for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you want that to be a goal. But realistically, they still got some time to improve, and they still got the team to make something happen because the quarterback is the only position where they're seriously struggling with. The offensive line is solid. The defense, solid. You don't have to worry about much over there on those ends. It's just a quarterback. Who's going to be the one throwing the ball? Who's going to be the one handing the ball off to the running back? So I think the Steelers, they'll be all right. But I will say, I'm going to be honest too, regardless of who's the starter, we'll probably see another change in the week by week 6. So if they name Russell Wilson the starter, I'm sure we'll see Justin Fields starting by week 6 and vice versa. If we see Russell Wilson get sent to the bench and Justin Fields is the starter, I'm sure we will see Russell Wilson come in and start by week 6. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough and entertaining. Personally, I think I would go the route of starting Russell Wilson. He has the experience. He has, the numbers to prove it, and he's a Super Bowl champion. And that way, more particular, I say put Russell Wilson in the spotlight to start, because if he is playing bad and you do need to sit him down, at least your guy, Justin Fields, is going to come in ready. He has a chip on his shoulder. He's been trying to prove himself ever since he got to the league. People said he was a bad quarterback. They said he was a bust, waste of time, waste of a draft pick. All that, they've been clowning him just because he had a bad run-in with the Chicago Bears who didn't do anything for him. So Justin Fields coming off the bench, he's going to come out with some fire underneath his belt, and then he'll be ready. Versus where Russ coming off the bench, he might feel a little hurt about that. He might want to go somewhere else. He's an older guy. He's on his way out the league pretty soon. So, that's the way I would look at it. But ultimately, Steelers, they better get it together because by the time they get past week 6, that's when they're going to start seeing them division matchups, and it's going to get real tough by the end because you're going to have to play the Bengals, the Browns, the Ravens. You're going to be seeing some dogs by the end. This first 6 weeks is easy for you. Or I ain't going to say easy, but you got some subpar teams in here. Falcons is not one of them subpar teams, but Broncos, Chargers, Colts, Cowboys, Raiders. Those are the teams you see. But after that, oh yeah, it's gonna. You gotta see the Bengals twice. You gotta see the Browns multiple times. You gotta see the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Jets. Oh yeah. They got some guys coming in. But anyway, look, man. Hey, shoot us a quick take. If you heard something you agree with, you disagree with, or you like, or you dislike, shoot us a quick take. 219-413-9405. And of course, we'll play your take back on our next episode. We would love to hear what you think about some of the things that we've talked about. And other than that, though, look, man, that's all we got for you today. I'm going to go ahead and leave you with a positive note here. And on this positive note, I'm going to just say, hey, you will never get there if you decide to quit. I'm going to just say that. Despite all the goals you might have thought and all the goals that you've pictured in your head, you'll never get there if you decide to quit. So just don't quit. Just don't quit. Just keep going. Just keep going. I promise it's easier. It's going to be tough. Whatever. You might have to take a break. You might have to walk it out. You might have to sit it out, whatever. But if you quit, you ain't going to ever get there. You're just going to think about what could have been. And that's the last thing you want to do. All right, look, other than that, man, hey, that's all I got for y'all today, man. Share this with a cousin, a brother, an aunt, an uncle, a niece, a nephew, a coworker, a friend, a family member, anyone you know, a neighbor who may enjoy anything I talked about. Just go ahead, shoot it their way. I promise you they not gonna mind. If anything, they'll say thank you. That dude was dope as hell, bro. All right, look, man, I'm up out of here. And I didn't forget. I know some of y'all are probably going to be like, damn, what happened to the AFC predictions? I didn't forget about that. We're still going to do the AFC predictions, but got to space it out a little bit because the season is coming up, but I need to time it perfect. But it'll be here. It'll be here this week. So don't worry about it. I know I said that last week, but I promise it'll be here this week. All right, look, man, other than that, I'm up out of here and I'll see y'all later on this week and so on and so on and so on.